Hi, my name is Bo and I live an alcohol-free lifestyle, and welcome to the Beautiful Savage channel, where together we discover how to put the world in front of us and alcohol behind us. The topic of today's discussion is we are going to become disciplined in our choices, expanding on the second element of the Beautiful Savage method. Thank you for joining in today as we take a deeper dive into the Beautiful Savage method. We have 4 different elements in the Beautiful Savage method that we work with, and throughout the last few weeks I've been covering the different elements on a deeper level, and you can go back and watch the Beautiful Savage method video that I made about the method in its entirety and the methodology that I use to become alcohol-free. And today we're going to look a little deeper on one of the most important elements of the Beautiful Savage method, because this is where a lot of the really hard work comes in. But with hard work comes great reward. And one of the most beautiful aspects of a human being, and one of the most powerful attributes that we have, is the power of choice. And when it comes to our alcohol-free lifestyle, there could be nothing out there that's more important on a day-to-day basis than the choices that we make. And it's so important that we make disciplined choices as we walk this path. So today we're going to take a little deeper look on how these disciplined choices can affect our lives, can affect our well-being, and ultimately keep us on the right track to becoming an alcohol-free individual and to truly put the world in front of us and alcohol behind us. I once listened to a psychologist talk about the amount of choices that we have in our life, and that on a given day we actually have millions of these little choices that we make. Some of them happen so quickly and our brain works so fast with them, it almost seems like we don't even really think about those choices or aren't really cognizant of the decisions that we're making throughout the day. And it's really interesting that when we get on this kind of autopilot kind of living, that it seems like sometimes we can truly get wrapped up in choices that lead to consequences that, if we really look back in retrospect or actually thought a little bit about the actions that we were actually taking, the decisions that we were actually making, that we would probably look back and wish that we had done things a little different. And that's what this video is about today. It's about making mindful, disciplined choices, but it's also about putting in that hard work to make sure that we get to the finish line of where we're looking to grow into, which is to become a disciplined, strong, alcohol-free individual. So every choice has a consequence. This is what cause and effect is all about. Now, I don't want to be rude or say anything unpolite, but I think if you're actually pretty observant and if you look at the actions and behaviors of a lot of people, you don't see a lot of real, true, critical thinking. I actually used to be a school teacher for 7 years, and I taught elementary school. I taught 5th grade. And that was one thing that was so important to me as a science teacher, is that I wanted to teach my students critical thinking. Just teaching them little things about cells and biology and anatomy and geology and the different things that I taught didn't necessarily lead them to like what my real goals with my students were. Is what I really wanted was to teach them and instill in them the importance of critical thinking and being able to think through a process, so that as you make choices, and as these little students made their choices in life, and as they grew up and became adults, which they are now, which is pretty wild, that they were individuals that learned critical thinking so that they could use that to benefit their life and to make good choices for themselves. And on that note of being a science teacher, Newton's third law is that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So it's so important in our alcohol-free lifestyle to really think about the choices that we make throughout the day and understand alcohol-related choices do not lead to the kind of outcomes that we're looking for. Alcohol leads to a lot of problems in our life, robs from us, takes from us, it attacks every cell in our body, it breaks our spirit down, it disconnects us from our own spirit and our internal being. It affects our health, it affects us financially, and it affects all our decision making when we're under the influence of such a harsh and dangerous drug, which alcohol truly is. So it's so important that we're disciplined in our actions. And when I talk about discipline here, I'm not just talking about how it relates in a singular way to avoiding alcohol, but I want myself, I want you guys, I want everyone that's listening to this message to understand that through disciplined choices, ultimately you can become a very well-rounded human where your disciplined choices affects your mind and your body and your spirit. And at the same time, as we grow into a disciplined person of self-control, we can also use these concepts that we're working on within ourselves to stay on the road to being an alcohol-free individual, to saying no to alcohol, to keeping it away from us, and then also becoming the highest versions of ourselves, the person that we envision in our mind, a person of strength and dignity and integrity and fortitude and discipline and self-control. And that's what we're working on here today. So discipline is one of the biggest things that we have to get very comfortable with in an alcohol-free lifestyle. It's an aspect of ourself that we really, really have to keep in check. Because as I was saying earlier, there are so many decisions that we make throughout the day. And some of those decisions we almost make in this autopilot kind of way. Now I'm gonna ask you, because this has certainly happened to me, have you ever been anywhere where you've got a lot of things going on in your mind? Maybe you've got situations in your personal relationships, coupled with maybe some situations with your children, coupled with maybe some situations with your work and your boss and your friends and your life. And then you've got worry on top of that and anxiety on top of that and just different things that life throws at you. And then the next thing you know, you find yourself at a happy hour or at a situation. Maybe you're even in a season in your life where you're kind of trying to avoid it or stay away from it, but one thing led to another, and the next thing you know, here you are drinking. That's certainly happened to me, where even like almost 2 or 3 drinks in, I was like, wait a minute. It's almost like this just like snowballed on top of me, or it was almost like I just didn't really think through at the time, like, drinking today wasn't even something that I was planning on doing. I had some other responsibilities I needed to take care of. And here I am, I found myself with a cocktail in my hand or at a place that I didn't necessarily want to be. I've talked about earlier how drinking is such a premeditative activity and how to be very cognizant of those thoughts that you have as they come in to make sure that you can roadblock your own thinking and then make a disciplined choice, which is what we're working on today. But I've found myself for sure in the past in places that it was like I just kind of let my stress get the best of me. And then the next thing I knew, maybe somebody had texted me and said, hey, we're all hanging out over here. And then the next thing I knew, I was there too and had a cocktail or a drink in my hand. And that really wasn't the result of what I needed to do that day. And to take it even a step further, it even got in the way of the things that I actually was supposed to do that evening or kept me from going to the gym. And then once you get alcohol in your system, it robs you of your tomorrow. If you were going to go to the gym or had some responsibilities to take care of, then sometimes those are out the door because of the effects of alcohol and what it does to our body, and especially throughout that hangover process in the following days. So it's so important that we make disciplined decisions. Now I'm going to be very straightforward with you. When you look at the 4 elements and how these elements work together and how they couple together to work properly, this is the one that you've got to put the serious work into, because discipline is where you say no. Discipline is where you keep yourself in check. And disciplined behavior is actually what I feel like for most is the trickiest part of quitting alcohol, because internally, alcohol is what we've used for comfort. Alcohol has been our crutch to get us through those stressful times or those hard times or those times of anxiety. And then the reality is that alcohol is often the solution to those issues, those underlying things that we're dealing with. It's not really the problem. But as we use alcohol to deal with those unresolved issues, then alcohol takes the stage as becoming the problem. So it's so important in our life that we make disciplined decisions. So this is the hard part. This is the truth, is that with these 4 elements, there are some elements that lean into the beautiful side of quit drinking, but this is the element number 2. We're going to make disciplined choices and we're going to become a person of discipline. This takes work. This takes time, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that we practice, and we practice it every single day. Now, I've told you that I practice very hard the things that I preach here, because over time I've tried so many different methods to quit drinking alcohol, and then I constructed this methodology that ended up working for me, which is why I share it with you guys, is because I think that it's been so beneficial in shaping me into the person that I am today, that I know that I think for other people, if they try and apply this methodology to their life and their cravings and addiction with alcohol, that you might be able to overcome it the same way that I have. And one thing that I really realized as I walked this path is that the cornerstone, the foundation of my success has to be discipline. That is the one attribute that if you do not have the rest of your framework built around discipline, your whole pyramid will crumble. So it's so important that every single day you gear yourself up with the armor of discipline. This is the attribute that we hold the closest. This is what leads to the effect that we're wanting. We know that the cause of being alcohol related has led to effects in our past that we no longer want that in our life. We no longer want our life to be riddled with the effects of alcohol. So we've decided to put it behind us completely and to live an alcohol-free lifestyle. And the beauty about this path and the beauty about this life and the rewards that come with being an alcohol-free individual is that you begin to live your life through the lens of clarity. You begin to connect again with your spiritual nature. You get to explore your heart. And like I've mentioned in the past, for some of us, maybe for the first time, we now know through science that alcohol lives in your body for such a long time. And there are some reports out there and some evidence that shows that even when we drink, we used to think that 24 hours later, it's kind of behind me and that hangover is kind of I blasted through that. But that's not the case. And as you get older, you'll notice your hangovers last longer and affect your body for longer. But the science is now showing us that alcohol lives in your system for up to 7 days. So it's constantly affecting our spirit and our mind and our body and how we react and how we live our life. And we don't want to live our life with that substance in our system. So that's what we're here to do as a community, is to work through this together, to rise above it together, to be strong and courageous together, and ultimately to become a brave and untouchable person. And that's what the Beautiful Savage channel is all about. It's about us all working together in unison, moving forward and becoming an alcohol-free individual together and living our best life in the time and the moments that we have here on planet Earth. So making disciplined choices for our mind and our body and our spirit. Be very, very cautious about the contents of your mind, the things that you put into your mind. Wake up with gratitude. Focus on the beautiful things that you have throughout the day. Keep your mind clean. That even comes down to the music that you listen to, the movies that you watch, the things that you put in your mind, the people that you're around. Make sure you're around a circle of people that are lifting you up and helping you grow. The contents of your mind will completely shape who you are as a person. So it's so important when we think about disciplined choices in our mind, our body, and our spirit, that we look at them all together and we make sure that if we touch on disciplined choices in each one of these three pillars, that at the end of this and throughout this activity and exercise, we're creating a blueprint for ourselves that will end up leading us to the highest frequency, most vibed up, strongest person that we can possibly be. Now our body, it's so important that we take care of our body. We exercise, we get sunshine, we go outside, we listen to the birds, we go for walks, and we surround ourselves in nature. We also take care of our body as far as the food that we put in our body, the diet that we have. If your body is run down, your mind and your spirit's going to be run down too. Make disciplined choices with what you eat, what you put in your body, and how you fuel yourself. This is such an important aspect too. Keeping yourself clean internally, keeping your body in check is all part of living an alcohol-free lifestyle. So it's not just saying no to alcohol. There is so much more to this. But the beauty about this lifestyle is that it truly does shape you into the best version of yourself. It truly does give you a glimpse into what you're truly capable of. And the wonderful thing about taking care of your body, making sure that you exercise and work out and find some avenues to keep your body strong, is that it creates a person of confidence as well. So this is how all these things couple together too, is because the reality is that it takes a confident person to show up in a room of people drinking or even a wedding where everyone's celebrating, and to be the one person in the place that says, soda water with lime, please, or just no to alcohol. So this is a wonderful aspect of becoming alcohol-free as well, is that once you take care of your body and once your confidence gets lifted and your self-esteem gets lifted, some of these other parts of becoming alcohol-free that are a little difficult seem to kind of unwind in an easier way. And when it comes to our spirit, I personally believe that alcohol is the one substance that disconnects you from your inner spirit more than any other drug or substance out there. And one thing that I can share about that I find really fascinating, and like I've mentioned before, no matter what avenue you're taking to become alcohol-free, all I want to do is to provide encouragement for you. So lean into whatever that is. This is just another option to help you along the way. And if you just use these videos for just general encouragement, then that's totally fine too. But one thing that I've learned as I was going through the process of quitting for years and years and years, I actually attended AA meetings, and some of them regularly, some of them not as regularly, but I did attend. And although I created my own methodology that ultimately worked for me, one thing that I found so fascinating about the AA community is that usually that practice led to most people believing in a higher power. And I find that really fascinating because I do think it is a testament to what I'm describing about how alcohol disconnects you from your spirit. Because I think when people actually give it up and just say, I'm not going to do this anymore, and completely remove it from their system, that barrier between yourself and your spirit, and your body and your spirit, and your mind and your spirit, seems to disappear and just dissipate. And you become so much more connected to your own spirit, to your inner voice. You know, some people may call it like a gut feeling, but maybe that's just your spirit talking to you. Maybe that's just your spirit leading you and guiding you in the direction that it wants you to go. And I also think that that's why we make so many foolish decisions when we drink, is because we're so disconnected to that inner voice. So when I'm talking about making disciplined choices that affect our mind and our body and our spirit, ultimately it leads to us having that closer relationship to our spirit. And that's what I found fascinating, is that for so many people and for so many of us that put alcohol behind us and let it go completely and completely clean it out of our system, and then get on a trajectory of good decisions and a good life living, that we do become so much closer to our inner voice, to our spirit. So many different people find that higher power that they connect with. However you want to look at this, that's up to you. But one thing is that once you become a disciplined person, and once you start living a disciplined alcohol-free lifestyle, you'll notice the change in your mind, in your body, in your spirit. And as you make those changes, you'll notice that all of these little things that you focus on, they begin to expand. So that's back to what I was saying about the contents of your mind. Focus on little things throughout the day. And that's why also the first element of the Beautiful Savage method is we wake up and begin our day with gratitude. See, all these things start to stack on each other, and there are only 4 of them, so they work together. Now the second element, becoming disciplined in our choices, that's where the real strong work comes in, because it's a constant focus of discipline. But just like going to the gym and training your muscles, it does become easier over time. And as you become a person that is very cognizant in their actions and reactions, and how we deal with cause and effect, and how we put discipline into our life, we'll realize that all of these things start to become easier for us, and disciplined choices just start to become the way of our life. And that's why we call this an alcohol-free lifestyle, is it truly is a lifestyle that we live every day. This isn't something that we're just doing for a couple weeks and then we're going to go back to drinking. No, this is who we become. This is our internal blueprint. And as we keep making those incremental steps forward, like I've discussed in the past too, just those tiny little steps to get better and better and more disciplined and stronger, then we see the rewards. We look in the mirror and we see who we've become. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful lifestyle and such a beautiful way to live. And I'm happy to be able to share that with you guys. So if you're new to this lifestyle, you may see and you may discover that initially making these big life changes for yourself might seem quite uncomfortable. You may really experience some discomfort, but it is the pains that we go through in life. It's the suffering that we go through in life that leads to greatness. So embrace the change and accept who you're becoming. Wrap your arms around it, and as you feel those painful changes in your life, understand that is you breaking out of the former person that you used to be. That is you putting alcohol behind you and emerging into a stronger, person of discipline and emerging into an individual that can call themselves alcohol-free. As time goes on, you will find ease in the effort. It seems really hard at the beginning. It seems like you're letting go of a lot of things, but don't look at it as what you're letting go of. Look at it as what you are gaining and lean into that. Keep going into that direction. And that's where the ease will eventually come into your life. You'll kind of jump over those hurdles of discomfort, and then it starts to dissipate. And then you kind of catch your groove into this lifestyle, and then you realize, like, oh my gosh, I should have done this a long time ago. This is truly where it's at. I'm feeling great. I feel good. I look in the mirror and I'm proud of who I see. I look in my bank account and there's money that I haven't blown on alcohol. I remember the conversations that I had with all my friends and the people around me, and I don't carry any guilt and shame. And I go to sleep at night and I put my head on my pillow and I feel good and satisfied, and everything is well with my soul. Now, I've spoken a lot about daily visualization and visualizing what you want your life to be like. Now, visualize yourself as a disciplined individual and remind yourself throughout the day that you are disciplined. Let that live within you and just become that person that you visualize. Who you visualize, that is your directive for your day. Lean into that, attack that. And every single day, however you visualize yourself, that's your objective, that's your trajectory. So always keep at the top of your mind, I am a disciplined individual. I'm an individual who makes smart, disciplined choices. And throughout this day, if I have cravings, if I have the desire, if I have the want or feel like I have the need to go drink, and that need is fake, but feel like you have that, if that's what you're experiencing throughout the day, that's when you make that cognizant decision. That's when you remember who you visualized for your day and who you visualized yourself to be. And you can say, no, not today. I'm making a disciplined choice for myself today. I'm a disciplined individual. I don't need alcohol. I don't want alcohol. And alcohol is not going to serve me, make my day better, or do anything to benefit me on any level. This is how we make disciplined choices. Now we know that there are so many dangers to alcohol. I don't really need to go down that path. We all have so many stories. We all know what hangovers feel like. We all know what alcohol does to our body. But it's important to know too, as you're making disciplined choices, that there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to try to make it look fun. Society is going to tell you, hey, this is how we celebrate. The billboard that you pass on your way to work is going to say, hey, after you get off work, maybe come have a drink with me. This is how they justify it to make it look fun and exciting and beneficial. You already know in here that that's a lie. You already know that it doesn't work. So stay vigilant, stay disciplined, and see how this unfolds for you. Through discipline, self-control, and self-respect, stay laser focused on your objective of disciplined choices and observe the person that you become. Observe the direction that your life takes. Observe the changes that you see in the mirror and the reflection that you see looking back at you. Observe how others respond to you as a disciplined individual. You see, discipline is an attribute that takes work. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of practice. Like I said, if we look around, it's pretty easy to see that most people aren't all that disciplined with their actions. This is an attribute that money can't buy, and it will help you grow in your self-respect. And one of the most interesting things that I noticed when I became an alcohol-free individual is how people responded to me. You know, I initially thought that it was going to tear down a lot of my relationships, and the truth is it did in many ways, and that's okay. And it also forced me to be in a situation where I had to leave a lot of relationships behind. But even throughout that process, some people that I get around that I haven't seen in a long time, they know the transformation that I've made. They've been able to watch it, and they saw the version that I was as a drinker and the man that I've become. And the amount of respect that I get now from the decisions that I've made has been really eye-opening for me. And it truly is like Newton's third law: with every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And the truth is that discipline really is the attribute that money can't buy. You have to earn it. And when you work hard at something, it reflects in who you become. And this is something that I'm excited for you because it's such a cool observation, and it's such a cool way of life when you start becoming a really, really strong individual that's disciplined in their actions and can say no and has self-control, that you really stand out. And I want to hear how that works out for you. I want that for you in your life. And I love, as time goes on, for you to share some stories with me about what discipline has done in your alcohol-free lifestyle to make you the most vibed up person you can possibly be. So like I said at the very beginning of the video, your greatest power is the power of choice. Discipline is where your true power lies. Discipline is where you'll find freedom. Discipline is your foundation and the key to becoming alcohol-free and remaining alcohol-free. As an alcohol-free individual, I live with discipline every single day. So live each and every day with strength, courage, and discipline, and watch and observe the person that you become. Thank you so much for showing up today. That's what it's all about. And if you know someone who might benefit from this message, please share with them. Together we're stronger. Also, if you haven't taken a moment to subscribe to the channel, I would love for you to join, and I look forward to seeing you down the road. Have a great day, and see you out there.